Hi, all. Today we have a guest with us, Raghav S, who is my boss, that is manager's manager. Highly busy person who has given this time for us to have his insights brought to us through this channel. So thank you, Raghav. It's my honor and privilege to have you here, and then I am so sure that your inputs in this video would help a lot of youngsters to get into their dream jobs. So that's the motive, and we have this session going into three segments with just three questions uh, because we can't cramp Raga with a lot of other things. So, going ahead with the first questions. So, Raga, just straightforward questions. How a youngster or a graduate or people who are in their final years can get into a corporate a job, and what are the skills required for them to attract recruiters so that they get into job and then they start their career, because the starting point is always the hardest one.
Correct.
So
Correct.
what is your thought? And you have been in the recruiting process for years, because he has 21 years of experience. So this timeline alone itself is too long to explain. So just cutting the story short. So you have been in the recruitment process too. You have hired a lot of youngsters, and under you always there are fresh graduates and interns who work. So what is your inputs on this regard?
Yeah.
So this would help.
First of all, thanks for having me here. It's always a lot of joy to come and share one's own experience, and I think if you will find it helpful, it's definitely a lot of benefit also for all of us that you're able to land in your dream job. So, first question is when to start, right? You said maybe final year students. I would probably say that's already a little too late. When most of us, when we start with getting into a graduation, let's say in any stream in engineering, the likelihood that you would find a job in the IT industry, right, is maybe you can start thinking about it already when you're in your third or fourth semester as you get into your own stream.
That's where most of us make mistake. Even I started after almost
Sixth or
completing
seventh,
it.
yes.
Yeah, so
The reason why we need to start early is there are a lot of aspects we can consider and we can plan sufficiently and well ahead of time. So if you think being a developer in a software company is something that you would like to get into, then there are a set of subjects that I would say one needs to get their foundation really built very strong. I can even name them. So this is data structures and algorithms. You will have it in your third or fourth semester already.
yeah.
You will have object oriented programming. Yeah, this is again basic. It doesn't have to be specific to a particular programming language.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
true.
say the object oriented programming. We will talk about certain database management systems and maybe some parts of operating systems as well.
Yeah.
At least the combination of DSA and OAD, I think this is really very crucial when you want to get yourself prepared to become a software developer.
Yeah, that's true.
This is very important.
One more point I would like to reiterate is Raghav specifically said basics. If you have this basic strong, I'm also fresh graduate, so that's more than enough. You don't have to be so extraordinary, and also basics. That's what he also said, and I would like to reiterate that.
I completely admit here, because what we have seen when we go to higher from the universities, the students somehow get extremely carried away with what is net new now. For example,
Yeah.
many of us hear the buzzword about Chat GPT and Gen AI. It's important for everybody to understand the internals of Gen AI now already for them to perform the role of a developer. Maybe yes, maybe not.
Yeah.
So somewhere where I think for a fresh graduate, what is really crucial is your foundation on computer science and the relevant engineering subjects, right? If you're interested in maths, I would also say please also brush up your mathematics one. A little bit of matrix and so on will also help.
Yeah.
So these are things I think from a subject you can already start to think about in your third, fourth semester. You pay more attention. You start to solve more problems on data structures and algorithms. What I also see is a common practice these days is to sign up for one or the other competitive platform like your Geek for Geeks or Top Coder, Coder Chef, and so on. And you're probably in your fifth semester, then that's already a good time that you sign up, start to get exposed to few small problems that they also post as challenges from time to time. The more the exposure to crack these problems, the more advantage you will have when you actually appear for an interview. What is important is most of these problems would have a real life narration, and what is important is to spend 5 to 10 minutes of time to understand the real life narration and to formulate it into a mathematical problem. Because eventually the mathematical problem in that state is easier for us to tackle, and for all that we know, it will be a sorting, it will be a binary search,
Yeah.
right? But the way how the problem is narrated, it sometimes throws us off guard. So it is worth spending 15-20 minutes of time to read up and then somehow get it into the formulation part. Once you get it into the formulation, maybe it's even a straightforward algorithm that applies or a chain of algorithms. But the first part, first step is crucial, and that's already half the battle won.
Yeah. So when we, likewise Raghav said, when we really try to deduce to a mathematical formula, the interviewer even helps us.
Usually
So
they
yeah.
are able to nudge you saying, okay, maybe you're in the right direction. They say, do you think you would like to try this, or you want to consider another
They
aspect
keep
here?
giving hints.
Hints.
Yeah.
And you can pick it up as well. And so, yeah, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the different roles that are there. So there are now multiple different roles available also within, let's say, the software engineering portfolio, right? So we have user assistants. So somebody who is still interested with computer science, but is also having somehow the ability to write complex things in a very understandable way. Maybe this is also something that can excite people.
Yeah.
User experience is very critical. A lot of people we know also finish engineering and then they pursue something towards UI, UX design, and so on. Maybe you start to have the left brain, right brain, right? Some people also are pretty creative. You signed up for engineering, but you also see that there is good scope for UX as well. Then, of course, the mainstay is developers, and here there are a lot of exposures to different tools and dev environment that I think will also help.
Yeah.
So you can create your samples and keep it in GitHub, which
Yeah.
is also community driven. So you don't need to pay money to keep your source code there. And this is proof of the pudding, right? When somebody asks you what have you done, you don't have to tell story. You can simply say, look at the GitHub. These are the problems that I have tackled. This is my source code.
Yeah, just a second. Adding to Raghav's, recently Elon Musk has posted saying that I don't need you to go to a greater IIT or bigger institutions to do your degree and then show me on the resume.
Exactly.
Just show us your code. That's what he has
Exactly.
posted.
Exactly.
Majorly, recruiters or companies look at is, can you deliver it? Show us the proof. The proof is your code.
Correct.
So I'm happy that Raghav has very prominently brought out that point here.
I think that is something for many of us, right? Seeing is believing. And when you say this is the code that you have run, the good thing is the code doesn't lie. If you execute it, it shows whether it runs. You can
Yeah.
run it against some tests.
Very transparent.
Very transparent. Tests are also something that I would say, as entry level developers, you can already start to think how you will test your code, because eventually that is what the decision is that qualifies your code, right?
Yeah.
Functional correctness as well as other aspects about complexity of the code and so on. But that's already too much into the detail.
Yeah.
So if you will ask me, as a graduate who is pursuing my degree, what should I do now? I will say, if you are in your third or fourth semester, it's really the right time. Look for certain subjects that are of interest that will help you build foundational know-how. If you're already in fifth, sixth, then don't worry. Pick up with data structures. Already I would tell you, pick up with data structures, sign up to one of these competitive coding platform, create your own code snippets, run them, learn together with few other colleagues as well from your college or other universities.
More specifically, host them on your GitHub.
Yeah, please host them. Tell them how it runs, prepare test data, show them that the tests run, and so on.
Yeah.
Get familiar with also the development environment and the tool sets. Yeah. And the last role also, for example, is the QA. We sometimes don't spend so much effort to prepare for this role, but it's a very, very crucial role in the overall enterprise software development lifecycle. And as QAs also, it used to be manual test in the past, but we're moving a lot towards automation, which also needs you to have the programming abilities and analytical thinking. So this would also help a lot. You can think which of these roles kind of excites you, right?
Yeah, like just a quick question, Raghav. When you say QE, I mean, what are the specific tools? Because people do not know what they are actually doing currently.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
if you can specifically mention two, three tools that they need to focus on.
Selenium, yeah, Selenium is the most popular one in the market. I would say it's a good start to have.
Yeah, if you are interested in towards testing, Selenium tool is the best
It's
one.
probably a good thing to get started. And for object orientation and any of your source code, I would still say Java is probably a go-to programming language.
Always the hard language.
Yeah, Python also these days, but Java, I would any day say, yeah, get started with Java. Yeah.
Thank you, Raghav, for I mean that would help the lot of youngsters to get into. They have now kind of ideas on what all is expected, because this is straight out of a person who is in the industry for 21 years and then leading a bunch of extraordinary people. So once they get into the job, what are the skills required and what are the things they need to focus so that they keep excelling in that role, whatever role they got into.
First, congratulations, right? You've got a job now. Yeah, that's you're stepping into
Congratulations, guys.
you're stepping into your dream job. Allow it to settle in, right? Take few weeks. Observe. I think what is usually very important is when you transition from college to a corporate job, you tend to feel that you've arrived, which is good. Feel happy about it, no denial, but also start to uh, observe keenly who are the people, what is the kind of work that they are doing, which are the teams. If there are any large meetings which are used for broadcast of information, join those meetings so that you know where you stand in the company and so on. Having said that, many of us initially tend to believe, right, which is at least according to me, maybe a misnomer, yeah, not a required skill. We feel that the one who is the loudest, the one who makes extraordinary presentation and is an extrovert, right, naturally excels in the corporate job. This is not necessarily the case always, right? I think we need to let our work speak.
Yeah.
So there are two things by which we can make our work speak.
That's
So,
true. Guys, let your work speak.
yeah, you need to let your work speak. So how will your work speak? I think you need to find forums to demonstrate your work. This can be your own team, your own colleagues, your own peer group, architects who are around. You can showcase what you've been doing, whatever task you take. This is your code, this is how it works, this is the outcome, this is the test with which you are able to run, and so on. Second is also, you're not there to describe your code. So how else will somebody know your code? Is by reading about the code that you've written. So
Yeah.
documentation is very essential. We have seen many of us in India, right? We tend to get tempted to do things than to write it out. What I would suggest is, when you start off, you always say, okay, give about an hour a day, document what you've done. Yeah, it could be for your own journaling, which is still okay, but it's a great habit to get started. So if I would say, let your work speak.
Yeah.
So demonstrate and document. Yeah, keep doing it once in 2 weeks, once in 4 weeks, and that way you can consistently build on
So
that.
that's very important,
Yeah.
because what he said is really what is expected.
Yeah. All artifacts, right? Design artifacts, development artifacts, test artifacts. When they are documented, they are there. It will speak by for itself,
Yes.
right? You don't have to do the voiceover for that. Yeah. So this is making the work speak. Now, first thing that we need to understand is we need to be consistent. There are two behaviors that I would say we need to look at, right? It's not about hard skills, design, architecture, programming language. These are the things that got you into the job.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Now, for you to continue to excel, two things that you will always have to remember is, one, bring in always the energy. I think as freshers, this is something that many of us really feel upbeat, right? When there are few people who join the company young, you're coming in with your idea. So energy and the desire to explore. It could be technology exploration, read up about things, and you can share. This is one part, which is what makes a fresher stand out. The second thing, which I think I would strongly recommend all of you to practice, is this professional ethic, right? Which we say, commit to doing something and be sincere to give in that effort to deliver it. I think in the social media these days we have 60-hour week, 80-hour week. Now, I'm not getting into the quantum of effort you need to spend. All that I'm saying is, commit to do something and supplement it with what you would have done. Yeah? Stay true to that commitment. I think that should be good, and to stay consistent as well.
So, guys, in nutshell, it's commitment and consistency. With all the hard skills that you got a job into, and then if you want to excel, of course, hard skills are there, but consistency and commitments are the two very important qualities that you need to develop so that you keep excelling.
One another aspect is, after you will spend about a couple of years in any company, in any role, right? We've seen, the kind of monotonous nature sets in. I think what I would suggest the youngsters also to continue to do is to keep your network live, right? So when I say keep your network live, many organizations these days, they facilitate somehow and promote that the individual brings in a lot of their desire and wishes also when they come and join the company. So there are people whom we know who are very good in art and sketching, so these are your hobbies. There are people who play different sports. Some people play chess, or there are dance club and music club, that as an employer, right, they facilitate these organizations. The big advantage there is that, one, it's a great source of being social and being available and connected with the people, and not from your project or your team alone. So you know what's happening, right? You have your ears and eyes also in other topics and other projects. You know what's happening in the overall industry. You know what's happening in the company. And the next thing is, it's a great way to also understand and share with each other how things are progressing. You will establish new friends,
Yeah, that's
in this company.
Mm.
You've spent many years in the educational institution, then you did your graduation. Now it's a new environment. People like to socialize. Again, you don't have to be extrovert, as I said, but developing a hobby definitely helps. If you are in the college now, which I assume you are, then I would already suggest that you should pick up one or the other hobby, right? It could also be book reading. Yeah, it could be with languages, and maybe video game as well, right?
Yeah.
So you could also do competitions on Friday evenings with your peer group in the office for all that you know, right?
Yeah.
So it's also having fun together. Yeah.
So just adding, like I said, he lives by his word. He's leading an exemplary life. He comes in the evening around 6 or so to play volleyball with us. I regularly play, so he comes to play volleyball with us with the same energy, with same enthusiasm. He plays basketball with us. He's lively among everyone. What not? He does everything. Whatever he's told, it brought him so much network, and he's reinstating on those things. So going to the final question, Raghav. So, what would be relevant for 2030, and what are the roles that might go obsolete? So, yeah.
Very valid question, but also very difficult to answer, right? So I am no Nostradamus to say what is there in 2030, but I will still give my views to it, right? So I'm looking back at the last 25 years. At least one thing that is pretty clear is the pace of change has become multifold now.
Okay.
So what took 10 years to change in the technology field in early 1990s, to the same quantum of change today in 2020 is happening probably in 2 years, compared to then it took 10 years to happen.
Mm.
So what we will know for sure is, whatever we see today very likely would have changed in the next 5-6 years in 2030, would have gone completely different in 2040. And this is not in our sphere of influence to control or stop the change. So what we will have to prepare ourselves is to embrace the change. So I will just give a personal anecdote, right? So I was practicing to run for a full marathon, a 42-kilometer run. Initially, when I started to practice, we do the schedule for 12-week or a 16-week beginner run schedule. You do alternate days, and you do a long distance once every week.
Yeah.
And then we started off with 7 kilometers in a week, then slowly to 14. And initially, my intention was, I was always thinking I'm going to start and finish the 42 kilometers on the day of the run in one single trot. But just as about during the practice, when I reached about 16-80 kilometers of single run, I realized I'm not able to run any further. And then the whole strategy was I had to stop and then start again. But by the time I had reached 17-18 kilometers, I was already very tired. And when I stopped, I couldn't start again because I had run for about 1.5 hours already. And then that is where we changed the strategy when we read up and discussed with other runners, right? The strategy is, when you're already fully with energy and you're still running well, We deliberately stop at about 7 or 8 kilometers, take a 1 minute break, do the next 7 8 kilometers, take a 1 minute break, and then keep going. So this is a smaller loop, and this is fully in your control.
Yeah.
You're not tired yet, and your body still listens to you.
Mm.
Now, if I will draw the parallel here, right? So change is going to happen. We don't know what it is going to be. So every 18 to 24 months, I think start to learn something. If it is not relevant then anymore, drop it, learn something new. If it is relevant, continue. That's a good thing that you already started. You have a head start. If it is not relevant, drop it, move on. But what is very important is your ability to learn, unlearn, learn, right? This stays with you.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the only thing that is in our control, and
Yeah.
it can help us.
That is very valid and true point actually. Learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Relearn,
That's only going to get us ahead.
Wherever we need
Yeah,
to be. Yeah. So
that's true.
otherwise, we are tempted to say, I want to see a world in 2030 the way how I think it is going to be. I prepare for it. And in all likelihood, if it happens, great.
Great.
If it doesn't happen, you're so disappointed and you've lost also 5 6 years, right?
Yes.
And then maybe you've also lost the ability to learn because
Mm.
you're not willing to unlearn now and
Yeah.
you're still sticking to the past. Oh, I spent so much effort. So that way, I would say, you look at the next 5 6 years, maybe an 18 to 24 months seems reasonable. Now maybe it is Gen AI, large language models. Maybe from a technology, it's Python and R or one of these. Get started with them. In 18 months, if it continues to remain relevant and hot, then you can of course make the benefit. If the bubble bursts, it's okay. You still spent learning something that would have helped,
Yeah.
and then laterally you can move to the next thing.
The learning habit, whether
learning
that is
habit
going to be
is
successful or you are going to
Not utilize
it, the learning habit is
Yes.
always going to help anyone
Yes.
to move forward and go ahead and then reach success or heights. So,
Certainly, I think because that is also the only thing that is in our control.
Yeah.
Right. We can't control what the world will do to us, but
Absolutely.
we know what we can do to the resources that we have.
yeah. So, you have any ideas on what are the roads that might go obsolete
Yeah.
going forward?
So, in the software development life cycle, I think the proportion of people who will do manual testing, right, maybe in 4 to 5 years, this would completely reduce because a lot of automation is coming. Similarly, with DevOps as well, a lot of automations are coming in. So, these are maybe the proportion of roles could reduce. But what will still be valuable is someone who has really domain and deep expertise, right? Because with automation, the challenge always is when everything works fine, nobody cares, right? But if something breaks, you need that one expert who can come and figure it out what had happened, right? So again, another anecdote is you can mechanize and in make things out of industries, yeah. But if something breaks, you still go back to that one person who knows how to fix it, right? So the number of people who know how to repair, fix it without data loss, without without a lot of money loss, that they can revive the system back, right? And there will be a lot of demand for such people also in the technology industry. That they are, because you will use tools to generate code, and these code will run. They will also be able to heal and optimize. But if none of these things will happen, you still need that one person who knows how it can be done and how to fix it and repair it and get it back to track.
Yeah.
So that is deep expertise for me.
So the numbers might reduce, but the person with knowledge
Yes.
and the expert will always remain crucial and would win the battle
Yes.
eventually.
Yes.
Okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much, Raghav, for
Thank you.
your valuable insights. Whatever he shared, I am sure I have seen him maybe for past 1.5 years, is true. And I mean, he has shared from his experience whatever values, virtues he lives by has shared, and whatever he shared is actually working out. So, guys, do follow and then uh, all the best for your future careers. I would give a LinkedIn link of Raghav, so you
Sure.
could always reach out to him. Though he's a busy person, when he get chance, he would absolutely. I mean, he wouldn't hesitate to reply back. So do follow him and get a connection there. So until next video, yeah, signing off. So thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. All the best, guys.